As Behnam Ben Taleblu. He's a senior analyst at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies in Washington, D.C. And Behnam, thanks for being with us. But let's talk about how alarming exactly it is, both the pushing enrichment beyond the level that was set down in the Iran agreement, and also the threat to reactivate the Iraq installation.
Kalev, Narit, great to be with you in person again. You know, this is Iran showing it has the capability and intent to escalate as it chooses, regardless of the caps imposed on it by the JCPOA nuclear deal. When it comes to enrichment and the redesign of the Arak heavy water reactor, if Iran makes good on the threats that it said it would make good on after July 7, which is what Rouhani just said, then Iran would be in gross violation of the deal, because those two things together could begin to erode the one-year breakout timeline, which is one of the few saving graces of the JCPOA nuclear deal. So this is Iran saying it can actually push back that timeline, in effect, create more risk, and force Washington to come to the table earlier and perhaps even not enforce existing sanctions.
I want to ask you about U.S. policy, and this is a question we keep bringing up because the U.S. representative for Iran, Brian Hook, tells us that Iran's acting out, so to speak, the attacks on oil tankers, the shooting down of a drone, are all signs that their policy is working, that they're feeling the heat, so to speak. Do you agree with that, or is this heading to a dangerous direction that maybe nobody's going to be able to stop at a certain point?
Well, there are risks right now, as you mentioned, the shooting down of the drone, the attacks in the Gulf, that actually do say that Iran has more escalatory options now than before, because the sanctions, as Brian Hook said, are really biting. But if you really look at the ultimate goal here, which is to get Iran to the table, this entire exercise, escalation across the Gulf, in the region, and on the nuclear file, can be seen as a way for Iran to get leverage, to make sure that their negotiating position, which is political, is bolstered. And this is the way Iran, as the state sponsor of terrorism, as a nuclear rogue, creates leverage.
Let's bring in one other perspective on this crisis. Our Yotam Confino caught up with former Israeli Defense Minister Moshe Ya'alon, who is also part of the opposition Blue and White Party here in Israel. Here's a little bit of what he told him about Iran now and its leadership.
I believe that when Khamenei meets the dilemma whether to go on with his rogue activities or to survive as the regime, his choice was in the past and will be in the future survivability.
Behnam, there is a bit of a gamble, a risk here in the Trump administration strategy that they believe Iran is going to come to the table rather than go over a red line in these provocations, be it on the nuclear side or it be in the theaters such as the Gulf or even in Iraq, as we've seen. What are you, in your eyes, knowing what you do about Iran, in which direction do you think they're going to go?
I think Iran is going to continue to escalate a little bit further. The name of the game here is graduated escalation. Make sure that Washington knows that Tehran wants to play chicken with it. But if these sanctions are tough, and if Washington does not swerve, and the message that there is no way out but through is clearly communicated to Tehran's leaders, then it's not a matter of if Tehran will come to the table. It'll be a matter of when Tehran comes to the table. And it'll be imperative for U.S. policy to know, is Zarif trying to run the clock on negotiations with Washington, given that there's an American election in 2020 and an Iranian election in 2021? Or is this a genuine attempt to fix the fatally flawed nuclear deal and more?
So far, it sounds like both the Iranian government and the Palestinian government, on two totally separate issues, are trying to wait out the Trump administration. But
that also seems to be a strategy. Behnam Ben Taleblu from the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.